Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 5 Minutes PM podcast. Today, I'd like to start with you a series of 2 podcasts where I want to discuss one research that I did about the PMO, return on investment. I started studying this around 1 year ago, thinking about how I can calculate, because I saw a lot of studies telling me, project management is very valuable. A PMI did a great study, a research in 2009 about the value of PM. But I was trying to find something that is tangible, something that shows the real value of what we are doing with project management. So I prepared a process with 10 basic steps. These steps are much more to explain to people the idea. So it's not a bureaucracy. It's a very simple process in the process environment. Of course, we have some simulations and some complex stuffs regarding AHP, analytical hierarchy process, and also Monte Carlo simulation. But it's quite reasonable to understand. And you can download this on the download area of the website, the process flow, and also the final report. With these 2 tools, it will help you a lot to understand what I'll be covering in this podcast and the next podcast. So the 10 steps, we start with the 3 first ones. The 3 first ones are related to the project portfolio. So first thing to calculate the return on investment is to know exactly what will be managed by the process that I'm creating, by the PMO I'm creating. So the first thing I need to know is to have a project office that manages $1 billion portfolio. It's different than having a portfolio of $1 million budget. So it's different. So I need to understand what is the size of the problem in money, in time, and also in results. And one of the challenges here, of course, to have an idea of the costs of the projects that I'm planning to put on this portfolio for the next 5 years, it's not so hard. To find the deadlines, okay, it's not so hard. But what is really hard is to calculate the profit of this portfolio. Usually for CapEx, for projects of capital expenditures, this is quite simple because the amount of money is so high that the people do all of research to make sure that you will find the right profit, etc. But when we have a portfolio, a diversified portfolio, some of the projects are very hard to find the profit. For example, I want to start a new trainee program. I will be producing a new IT infrastructure, IT backbone or something like that. And the challenge here is to find the profit on this. We need to calculate. This is the root. And will be the first challenge on this process. And really, it's possible to do this. I mentioned several times the Douglas Hubbard book, How to Measure Anything. You can do tools like Bayesian estimating, for example, probability and impact and ability to give profit. You can do an AHP, an analytical hierarchy process, to compare the options. So this project can reduce the turnover by 2%, or by 4, or by 6, or by 8, or by 10. And then we can calculate this and we can compare this using the multi-criteria aspect, and we'll spread up the pie amongst the alternatives. And this will help me to understand what will be the real results of the project. So you need to do that if you want to calculate. So you need to understand the amount of money and time that are on the game when you think about the PMO. And the next step is to create the distribution profile, because we'll be running a simulation. And we need to draft the worst scenario and also the best scenario. I need to analyze this. And this is based on research and also based on the ability of my company. So the benchmark and the historical information and how my company see the risks. So some companies are more pessimistic. So they think that the results will be not so good. Some of them are more optimistic. So we need to draft this because we'll do in the next step. a simulation. And to do the simulation, we need to see the worst and the best scenario, because we do a triangular distribution and a Monte Carlo simulation. And I did this for three things: time savings, cost savings, and profit increases. So I did these three scenarios, and we did a Monte Carlo simulation to see the distribution profile, the probability of reaching 10% of savings, 12% of savings, 5% of savings. So I will do something like a bell-shaped curve that will help me to see and to forecast this. This is not a basic process. I'd like to invite you again to return back to the download area and to download the report, because when you see the report, we have them in Portuguese and in English. If you see the results, then it will be much easier for you to follow the process with me. And next week, I will talk about the investments and the PMO, and also the results and how we can show the results in the mathematical side. I apologize. I know that this is quite complex, but I challenged myself to do this in something like 12, 13 minutes, and I will try to do the best I can here to help you to understand the return on investment. Hope you enjoyed. Next week, part 2 of this podcast.